Hello, welcome to a Saturday video. I've changed some things on my bike, just giving them a try. So what I've changed on the bike is that last time when I went out for a ride, I put my gravel wheels on, which I've not fitted for some time. I recently fitted a new chain, and I think that is the first time I've used that set of wheels with the new chain, and everything just felt grindy and horrible. So I gave it all a good check over. I convinced myself that the cassette must be worn, but it was affecting mainly the middle set of gears on the cassette. So I thought that must be it, and gave it a really good inspection, and you know, I didn't look too bad. So I'm not convinced that that's the reason, but I've ordered a new cassette anyway, so it'd be good to have one in spare whilst I'm deciding what's what. But what I did find was that the crankset was quite worn. The teeth were quite sharp points, but you know, flat bits on the top. But when I checked on Strava to be sure, yeah, basically they'd done 13,000 miles. So I suppose it's not unreasonable that they were quite worn, and certainly getting towards the time when I should be thinking about changing them. So what I then realised or thought about was that I did actually have a spare Shimano 105 crankset in my workshop. All I had to do was find it, and it seemed to be everywhere but where I thought it might be. But I did eventually find it after an hour and a half of looking for it, and that was one that had fallen into my hands, as it were, and pretty good condition actually, hardly any wear on it. Only problem was it's got 170mm cranks, not 172.5. So then I got to thinking, actually how much difference will that make? And a bit of internet research, you know what it is when you ask Google, it's a bit inconclusive. Some people said no difference whatsoever. Some people said, yeah, a bit of notice, a bit of difference, you'll notice it. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. So I fitted it last night, and this is the first ride on it. And I think I do feel a difference. It feels a little bit more spinny. It feels like it's easier to spin in a higher cadence. And looking at my cadence, I'm probably between 5 and 8 RPM higher than probably I would normally have expected to be. Kind of encourages you to spin a little bit more, which is probably not a bad thing. So I'm about 7.5 miles in, so it's by no means a conclusive test, but it does feel slightly spinnier. And the other difference, I guess, although it's only 2.5mm, does give you a little bit more clearance when I'm off-road. However, the other thing I've done, a little bit stupidly upon reflection, I've also changed the saddle back to my old one, which is in my last 2 rides. It's been creaking and groaning, making a horrible noise. What I omitted to do properly was to measure the difference. So, taking 2.5mm off the crank, I didn't actually measure, somewhat stupidly, the difference on the saddle. Does this saddle sit higher or lower than the faulty one I've taken off? So I didn't accurately measure it, which is a little bit stupid. I should know better than to make 2 changes at the same time, because if there is a change, you don't know which bits made the change. Oh well. So I am just over 12.5 miles in, so I'm about halfway. I'm going to turn around shortly and make this a 25-mile ride. It's late afternoon on Saturday. It rained this morning. It's quite nice now. So I'm interested to know if any of you guys have changed crank length, gone shorter, gone longer on the same bike with otherwise the same setup. How did it affect you? How did it affect cadence, power, whatever? It's one of those things that the more you think about it, there's pros and cons, and you can easily tie your brain up in a knot thinking about whether it's better or worse or no real difference. Is it another thing that the cycling industry wants you to overly think about and obsess about and potentially spend money on changing the equipment? I'm intrigued to know. What's your thoughts? After 13 miles of predominantly headwind, it's nice to have a tailwind on the way back, and a slight downhill at the moment. 19 miles an hour, just cruising. So in addition to the cassette that I've ordered, I've also ordered a set of jockey wheels as well, so effectively it'll give me close to a new transmission. If I've also got a spare chain. I'm going to check the chain. It shouldn't be worn because it's only been on a couple of months, but I might just change it just so I've got the complete set, and of course that'll make it easier in the future to know exactly where I am with each of the components. So back to that question of cadence. So far on this ride I've averaged 75. It was 76 and it just dropped slightly to 75, mainly because I was going uphill. And I would say that on average my cadence will be about 70. Sometimes a little bit higher, but definitely not 75, 76. Earlier on when I was on the flat it was consistently 77, 78, and the average had crept up to that, but I've slowed down a little bit and come to a couple of hills, so obviously it's dropped. So yeah, it seems to be, as I kind of felt at the start of the ride, in that 5 to 8 RPM higher. I'm surprised it's made that much difference. So 25 miles done on my new crankset. I think overall probably made more difference than I expected to feel. So I shall keep you informed over the coming rides how it's going. So with that, I'll see you again in a week or so's time. Thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to drop a comment below. See you soon. Bye.